I'm not sure why this uploaded wrong, but I'm re-uploading it because for some reason the intro was left out of the other one. So yeah, I'm sorry, it's re-uploaded.
Hey there everyone, it's Misty here. Thank you so much for joining me. So in today's video, this is going to be about my back and nothing but the back. So I was a part of a live stream on Saturday night, and in that there were a couple of people who don't like me, which is, you know, I was called a vile pig and a couple of other things, and that's okay. But one of the things that happened was one of the commenters who does not like me said, all I do is talk about calcium in my arteries and everybody has that. And I realized at that moment that there's obviously some confusion because that is not what I'm talking about. There's not an artery that is in any of this. So, or you know, a heart issue or vein issue at all in any of this that I know of. So I figured it would make sense to sit down and do one video with a timeline, and that way if you have questions I can refer you back to this video, and I can also share this with doctors if they have any desire to see it. So yeah, so kind of TLDR, I've had neck and back problems since I was a kid. I think I mentioned I started seeing a chiropractor when I was in 5th or 6th grade, specifically for my neck. So I've had neck pain basically almost all my life. I will be 46 next month. But since 2017, I've really had an uptick in issues in my back, along with weakness and stuff. I've been initially diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, which that has since been removed. There is the possibility that I have a type of muscular dystrophy. I'm waiting for the second genetic test to confirm that. And then recently I met with a fifth doctor to get a fifth opinion about what's going on now, and it's not good. So we're going to start at the beginning. Back to the beginning. Today is the first day that I have felt like I wanted to sit down and play with makeup. And this is my either strawberry lemonade or strawberry banana. It reminds me of strawberry banana bubble gum, which I love. Okay, so we're going to start, this all goes back to January 2017. So if you're new here, new to my channel, my symptoms started October 2016. So this is January 2017. I went to the doctor. I ended up seeing his partner because coincidentally he was out because he had a cervical surgery. So I went to see her because I thought I had a kidney infection. I had pain on both sides, kind of right where your kidneys, it's actually where the pain is today, actually, Misty. Okay, so it's right around that area, and it just felt like a kidney infection. So I went to see her, and she's like, this is not a kidney infection. She's like, I'm fairly certain this is a pinched nerve. And then we started talking about the weakness and stuff. She's like, I'm going to refer you to pain management, and I'm going to get an MRI of your neck and your lower back. So January 2017 was the first doctor I specifically saw that talked about the back, and I was referred to pain management, and I was referred for an MRI and for my neck and for my lower back. So I saw pain management, did a few things, and then went to a neurologist, and this kind of took the back burner until July or August of 2017. When I talked to my doctor about his neck surgery, and I said, what were your symptoms? And I was like, I have the exact same symptoms. So September 2017, I saw my very first neurosurgeon. Now, in that visit, he diagnosed me with OPLL, the ossification of the posterior longitudinal ligament. Ossification basically means calcium buildup. Posterior means in the back. Longitudinal means up and down. And a ligament is a ligament. So I'm going to pop up my MRI that I've shared with you guys before, and I'm going to draw a circle around what we're talking about. So the ligament that runs right along my spinal cord has started calcifying and causing compression, stenosis. So this is a genetic disease. I made sure to double check that I didn't do this to myself, and he said, no, you won the genetic lottery, you're just unlucky, something to that effect. And as far as surgery, he said, you know, this is going to be a big one, so we're gonna wait as long as possible. Okay, cool. Didn't worry about it again. So the next time that I saw anybody about my back was June of 2019. I went to step into my pool. So we're in Texas, and if you're in Texas, you may have heard of a play pool. So the deepest it gets is like 5.5 feet in the middle, and then it's like, I don't know, 12 feet? Maybe? Yeah, 12 feet, like long. But it has really steep steps, like a big step. So I was going in sideways because my brother was holding on to my hands because we don't have a handrail, and I stepped with my left leg. And when I stepped in with my left leg, I remember just looking at my brother, and he's like, what? I was like, I don't know, but I just did something to my back. I don't feel comfortable getting in the pool. Okay. So that was on a Friday. And the only reason I remember this is because he had come down with my niece, because we were going to keep my niece for a week. And he stayed. We were going to swim, and we had eaten, blah, blah, blah. So that was on Friday. Saturday, I started having some numbness in my right leg. Like it just felt like it was asleep. On Sunday, I could barely feel my right leg. And then by Monday, I called and rented a wheelchair because I couldn't feel my right leg at all, from my hip all the way down. So when Rob got home, we went to the emergency room. I had an MRI on my lower back, and it was discovered that I had ruptured a disc. Ruptured, herniated, they're both the same thing. And basically it had gone in and was pressing on a nerve, and it was causing me to have, basically paralysis in that leg. So I was admitted to UT Southwestern because that's where we went, because that's where my neurologist was. And another coincidence, I had already scheduled an appointment with who would become my future surgeon. So I'd asked my neurologist for a referral for my back. It had been 2 years since I'd seen anybody about it. I was having issues. I wanted a second opinion, and I had it scheduled for like the 3rd week of June. And this happened on like June 6th or June 8th. So I already had an appointment scheduled with them. So I went to UT Southwestern. I was admitted. So next day, had a neurosurgeon, never knew his name. He came in and said, we're going to operate later this week, blah, 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 blah. The very next day, had a neurosurgeon come in, a different one, and say, we're going to send you home to do physical therapy, because we want to see if that will help rather than surgery. Because again, they want to do, the least minimally invasive or, restrictive care. And I was fine with that. Like, I didn't want surgery. I'm not sitting around asking for a surgery, y'all. So I went home, did physical therapy from the end of June, 1st of August-ish, and then I went to go put my walker in my car after seeing my doctor, and I almost fell to the ground. So we scheduled surgery for October 2019. So October 2019, I had a laminectomy at L3, L4. A laminectomy is when they go in, they remove part of, I guess that's the joint, and to relieve the pressure on the spinal cord or the nerve. While he was in my back, when we woke up and he came in to see us, he said, I really could have done the next 2 levels. He said, but I was worried about the structure of your spine. And I think if he had had permission, he probably would have done a fusion. Honestly, looking back, and if he had had permission, if he had known that it was going to be that bad, which I don't know why he didn't. But anyway, we probably would have done a fusion. I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. So I didn't see the next doctor until August of 2020. So in August of 2020, I had a bilateral cervical facet injection. So I had one on each side. So bilateral means one on each side. And then in September 2020, I had a lumbar facet injection. And then October 2020, I had another cervical just on the right side. I don't know why we didn't do bilateral. So I don't know if this is all insurances or just my insurance. I have to do 2 rounds of facet injections. That's where they go in and they put in a block basically. And if you get, I think it's like 70 to 100, like 70% or more relief, then you can move on to things like rhizotomies, etc. So that's kind of when all of that kind of started. And then my back started hurting, etc. It's COVID, all of the things. So the next time I saw my pain management doctor was sometime either at the end of July 2021 or in August of 2021. And we started the process over. So in August 2021, I had a bilateral facet rhizotomy. No, I had a bilateral facet injection. And then September 2021, I had the rhizotomy. So then in August, nothing else, just, regular pain management. Back then I was on tramadol, diclofenac gel, and tramadol, diclofenac gel, and lidocaine patches. That's how I was managing my pain back then. So then in September of 2022, that's when I called my pain management doctor from my bed because I could not move very well. And we started it all over again. I ended up having a right lumbar rhizotomy, which actually did nothing. And then in December of 2022, or November of 2022, I had new imaging done. So I had an MRI on all three levels, cervical, lumbar, thoracic. And then I think it was in September, December 2022, I had an epidural steroid injection. In December of 2022 is when I saw my neurosurgeon's office again. So the last time I had seen them was November 2019 after I'd been cleared. I had some issues with my wound, but that was taken care of or my incision, and that was taken care of through wound care. So this was my first time seeing anybody from my surgeon's office since my surgery in 2019. I went in, took all of my imaging, and I just wanted to talk to somebody because I had new imaging. And I saw the PA. Now, this PA was not the same PA he had when he performed my surgery, so I didn't know who she was. I didn't know if I could trust her, etc. But she said he's going to want to do a cervical through thoracic fusion. She said, you've got stuff touching your spinal cord. He's going to want to do it within the next few months. She made it out to be this kind of dire, has to happen quick thing. And she's like, he's on vacation. When he comes back, I will talk to him and I will let you know. So January 2023, I get a message from her that says he's not, because we don't know where the symptoms are exactly coming from, he's not inclined to offer me a surgery. There was also something about the infection that I had in 2019, which was kind of out of left field. But I was like, okay, I said, is he saying that it's not, is this not severe enough to need a surgery? And she's like, correct. And I was like, okay. So I kept having issues with my lower back, and I went to my pain management doctor and I said, can you refer me to someone else? So she referred me this time to an orthopedic surgeon. So February 2023 is when I saw the orthopedic surgeon. And in that appointment, he never addressed the neck. I guess wasn't worried about it, but he talked about how I just needed another laminectomy on my lower back under where I had the last one. So hopefully you can see my dilemma. The man that was actually in my back said, if he did the next two levels, whether together or separate, that he was worried about the structure of the spine. Then you have this other doctor who's never seen me on the inside, who's going by x-ray, and my MRI says, oh no, you just need a laminectomy. Okay. So, I kind of just let that go. And then the next time I saw my pain management doctor was last August. And I saw her, and we started, June of 2023, I forgot that one. June of 2023, I had another rhizotomy, bilateral rhizotomy in my lower back. When I went to see her for a follow-up, she said, what do you want to do next? And I said, we've kind of done everything, yeah? And she's like, yeah. She's like, we can repeat a rhizotomy in 6 months. But that rhizotomy, I didn't get a whole lot of relief from. It should be like anywhere from like 2 months to a couple of years. And I think I got 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks if I was lucky. So I saw her in August and I was like, she's like, what do you want to do now? I was like, let's move to the neck, because the neck had kind of gotten put on the back burner because all of the lower back stuff. So I did my first facet injections in August, second set of injections in September, and then we finally did the rhizotomy in November. So that's a nerve ablation where they go in and basically burn the nerve. And it's supposed to provide some relief because the nerve isn't sending the signal to the brain that it's pinched or in pain, etc. So, and that was awful. And that was really it. But after that, when I saw her, I told her, she's like, how did it go? I was like, well, the neck has been bothering me because it felt like a really bad sunburn. I've talked about this before. Couldn't have anything touching it. Couldn't wear a shirt. Couldn't have even like one little tiny hair touch it. It was awful. But not long after that, or maybe around the same time, I started having like issues, like twinges in my rib cage area. And I'm like, can we just like one thing get fixed and let me enjoy it for a few weeks? So I wasn't really worried about it because it was like a little twinge. It was a little twinge here or there. And then it got to be a little twinge every day. And then it got to be twinges very often. And then it all accumulated to, is that the right word? I think so. January 1st. So January 1st, 2024, I experienced the absolute worst nerve pain of my life. If you've never had nerve pain, it's completely impossible to really describe. There's several types. There's the tingling, numbness, tingling nerve pain. There's where it feels like a literal fire. Like my arm is in a literal flame, like in a fireplace or something. It just burns. It just hurts so much. There's a more kind of pinching sensation, and that was just kind of takes your breath away. And so I was having that pinching sensation, and it was like breathing, moving, all of it. It was so awful. It was so awful. So I started experiencing 2 other symptoms. The first was like this kind of quick electric shock, and it wasn't in the same place twice. It was a quick electric shock, and I don't know why, but I was like, that has to be something hitting my spinal cord. That has to be something hitting my spinal cord. I was probably right, but that had to be something hitting my spinal cord. And the other one was, it felt like my whole entire back was going to collapse. Like it felt like that. And I don't know if that's nerve pain. I don't know what that was, but it was awful. So I didn't go to the hospital on January 1st for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't want to go to the hospital. 2024 was supposed to be my year. Number two, Rob hates hospitals. And I didn't want him to have to spend part of his vacation at a hospital because we'd already spent days and days going to doctors. But by Thursday, I couldn't take it anymore. And this was the first time I went to a doctor or to the hospital asking for pain meds. Like I'd never done that before. I will say that I honestly thought I had herniated another disc or something. So I went back to UT Southwestern to their emergency room, which was a total CF, took 16 hours, had another MRI on my lower back, and was basically told by the attending, like, hey, you need to follow up with a doctor. I was like, okay. But you see my dilemma. Like, again, one doctor was like, don't mess with anything under that with the laminectomy, structure of your spine. The other one's like, no, you're fine. So I asked for a third opinion. So that's when I initially met with the doctor from Northwestern. That was through an app called SecondMD. I've spoken about it before. It's an employee benefit from Rob's employer. You basically send in what's happening, and they connect you. They collect all your records, and then they connect you to someone in your field. Like when I was having all the issues, I talked to a neurologist from Columbia University. This time it was a neurosurgeon from Northwestern. And initially we were talking about my lumbar spine, and he was like, you need he's like and he blew up my MRI. He's the only person that's ever done this. And he showed me exactly where the nerve is pinched. It's not where my disc or my joints are. It's not at the spine. It's off to the side. And he showed me that a laminectomy wouldn't do any good because the laminectomy wouldn't release the nerve from being pinched. He was like, you need an entire fusion through your lumbar spine. If you don't know what a fusion is, they basically go in and they do a laminectomy on all of the levels. So they basically remove the bone, the joint or whatever. They insert 2 rods, one on either side of your spinal cord, and then they attach it with screws. And the goal of this is to have your body fuse all of that together within about a year. It limits your mobility, but it's supposed to help with nerve pain. And so that was kind of what we were going with. And then I made an offhand comment about I'd been told in the past that there wasn't any room around my spinal cord in my neck. And I just said it kind of flippantly. And he was like, Missy, that's way more concerning to me than your lower back. So set up another consult with him. Between that, I saw another neurosurgeon who was the one that told me I just needed a spinal cord stimulator and sent me on my way. So since December of 2022, I had a PA tell me that I needed a fusion, but then her boss said he wasn't inclined to offer me a surgery. Then I saw a surgeon who wasn't the least bit concerned about my neck. He was just like, you just need a laminectomy. Then I saw a surgeon who was like, the neck is the most important thing. And then I saw a surgeon who was like, you need a spinal cord stimulator. So out of 5 doctors, only 2 basically got it right, so to speak. Now, I mentioned my aggravation and my anger towards the PA because what she put in her notes is not what we talked about in person. And in her notes, she put mild myelopathy, myelopathy, which basically means symptoms of a pinched spinal cord. So I have my summary from the doctor, and I thought I'd read that to you. And then so long story short, I'm gonna read it to you. Okay, so they do a really cool thing. They send you like who your consult is with, and like this is the table of contents: specialist, nurse intake, their summary, and then they have a letter to the treating physician mentioning that they can call them, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I have my diagnosis is invertebral disc disorders with radiculopathy, lumbar region, lumbar stenosis with neurogenic claudation, other idiopathic scoliosis, cervicalgia, this is the first time I've read this, spondylosis without myopathy or radiculopathy, lumbar region, myalgia, other site, spondylosis, chronic pain. And so I guess that came from the MRI. I don't know. So the surgeon said avoid surgical intervention unless she has clear neurologic deterioration. And then the other surgeon said, yeah, it was like, I'm going to talk to the doctor and we'll see. So your MRI cervical spine shows you have disc bulges at multiple levels between C2 and T2. Also a condition called OPLL, which along with the disc bulges narrows around your spinal cord. Damage to the spinal cord could come numbness and or weakness in the arms and legs and could worsen paralysis. An earlier symptom of spinal cord involvement is loss of balance. Symptoms related to pinched spinal cord are called cervical myelopathy, myelopathy. Surgery for spinal cord injury aims to preserve your remaining function. The damage that has already occurred in your spinal cord may not recover. By decompressing the spinal cord, your surgeon hopes to prevent additional damage to the spinal cord. Your surgeon said, I would avoid cervical intervention unless she has clear neurologic deterioration. However, you mentioned you have had weakness and numbness in the arms and legs since 2016. The surgical treatment for your spine is posterior spinal decompression infusion from C2 to T2. And then it goes through, like, he would then place 14 screws, 2 rods, how long it would take. So then it goes, so it says, do you think some of my progressive weakness and numbness in my arms and legs could be related to a pinch in my cervical spinal cord? That's what it says, recommend to ask the doctor. So it says, discuss the spinal cord pinch. We discussed the fusion. And yeah, so I reached back out and said, you know, can you ask him a timeline? Like, is this something I can put off and, you know, lose some weight? Or is this something that should happen in the next few months? And so that answer today was, the surgery's already past due. If it says, if your symptoms, so it says that surgery is already past due. If your symptoms have been relatively stable, then you may afford to wait a few months to lose weight. But if you are noticing progressive worsening month to month, then it's advised to have surgery sooner to prevent further irreversible damage. So further damage. There's already damage, but we want to prevent further damage to the spinal cord. That was the last message I got today. So maybe you can see why I've been so angry. And there was somebody in that live stream. I put up a picture of my spine, and there was someone in there that said she's like, I'm a physical therapist, and that MRI scares me. I started having symptoms in October of 2016. We have ruled out almost everything neurological except for the FSHD. To see that level of damage on that MRI and just I'm not inclined to offer you a surgery. It's not that serious. I'm sorry, what? And this is what I said in that video that I deleted. If I were your mother, sister, cousin, sister-in-law, daughter, aunt, is that an okay level of damage? Are you okay with your loved one having that level of damage to their spinal cord? Is that okay to you? Is that okay? And that's why I've been just so angry and depressed and sad and terrified and ragey and just so flippin' mad that there's no accountability. There's not going to be any accountability. Because the only way that I can hold them accountable is if I took them to, filed a malpractice suit. And again, litigation is expensive. I mean, I could ask someone to do it on contingency, but they may or may not take my case depending on how things happen going forward. So, it just wouldn't be worth it. So to know that there are doctors who are okay with me just going home like this. And this surgeon, and I didn't read that part because I flipped through it, but he said I could have 75 to 80% relief. And to know that I've basically just been experiencing all of this pain, going through all of these painful procedures, when the answer was surgery. And if he had said, you need surgery, but I am not inclined to offer you one. You need surgery, but I'm not inclined to offer you one. That would have signaled to me to go find somebody new. But referencing an infection I had in 2019 and all this other bullshit, I had no reason to trust her and every reason to trust him. And I put my trust in the wrong person. And to think of how many mean, that office is like a cattle barn. There's people in and out every 5 minutes. And to think of how many 10s, 20s, maybe 100 people that they've seen and turned away because he just didn't want to. Not that they didn't need it, because they just didn't want to. So he took away my choice. He took away my choice. Because if he had said how serious this was, you need surgery, but I'm not inclined to offer you one, I would have already had this surgery. I would already have been hopefully recovered and felt better. And until you experience everything that I've gone through, there's no way to understand it. There's just no way to understand it. There's none. I lost everything. I lost everything. Everything. And the few things I do have left, they're hanging on by a thread. And this all could have been taken care of years ago. So yeah. So that is my back. That is the history. That's everything that's been done to it. That's the prognosis. Like I said, I see a new neurosurgeon on Tuesday. I will continue to seek out doctors until I find someone that's willing to operate. And if I have to jump on a plane and hope that he's, as great in person as he was over telemed, then I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, at this point, it just is what it is. This is everything that I've done. Everything that I've done. And I didn't even put in the stuff I had done while we were worried, like trying to figure out what was going on wrong with me in 2017. I had injections in my neck back then. So yeah. And I have my 2017 images, but I will have to ask her on Tuesday if she can, if there's a comparison, or if, I do know that she's going to order new images, except for my lumbar spine, because I literally just had that MRI in January. I remembered that the other day. So this is the spot where all the information is. So hopefully going forward, Tiger, you will realize that I wasn't talking about calcification of an artery. I was talking about calcification of a ligament. My arteries are fine. I had an echocardiogram. My heart is fine. So yeah. Dizzy. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. And if you find yourself having second thoughts about what you've been told, if you can do it, I encourage you to get a second opinion or even a third opinion. And it's not about shopping doctors. I mean, going forward, it may be about shopping doctors, but it's again, one was actually in my back and said, this is not a good idea. The other one said, oh no, we can do that, no problem. And then it's trying to find what's in the middle, and then learning that the neck is way more important than my lumbar spine, and that I could potentially be dealing with paralysis. Stay the fuck away from UT Southwestern. That's the only advice I can give. But I did tell Rob, if we do this surgery and I get as much relief as he has said, and I get my strength back, I will call every neurologist I have seen and I will apologize. And I'll make a video and apologize. Because someone has to figure this out. And maybe he has. And Lord, I hope so. Please, Lord, baby Jesus. I'm terrified of such a huge surgery, but at this point, it's got to be done. It's either that or be in a wheelchair. And even though we redid our bathroom with a wheelchair in mind, that's not something I'm looking forward to. So yeah. So anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you. Comments down below, questions, etc. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.